boy Roto Beast. I'm here with my boy Jeremy. We're here to present you our MLB On Deck segment for Tuesday, May 7th. If you're new to this channel, please make sure to click the subscribe button below. This you can watch all of our MLB, NBA, and NFL videos. If you haven't come and checked out our website here at dfscheatsheet.com, you're absolutely missing out. We have all the tools to help you compete with the pros day in and day out, including a complete optimizer, tons of content, daily FanDuel, and DraftKings cash lineups. Hey, we're truly a one-stop shop for all your DFS needs. So make sure to come check out the site here at dfscheatsheet.com. So, hey, what up, Jeremy? How you doing out there, bro?
Yo, what's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, real quick before we jump into today's slate, I didn't get the full details, but I seen that you had a sweat going last night. Can you give us a little bit more info on that?
So there was a couple of times last night in the $9.99 tournament on FanDuel that I had like first, second, fourth, sixth, and then I think I ended up like 10th, 11th, 13th. I had a run going, but basically
almost ran a train, huh?
Yeah, but basically, all of like on the deep dive we've covered at least twice this year. We've done a really deep dive into Martin Perez, and we've also covered Chris Paddock in the deep dive. And it's two guys that I was really big on yesterday and had a ton of exposure to, and ended up being the two highest pitchers on the slate, the highest performing pitchers on the slate. So I didn't recommend Cole Hamels yesterday. And the actual comments I made on the deep dive as far as pitching goes was to use Strasburg at a higher exposure rate than you're going to use Garrett Cole in, because Scherzer, because I thought that Scherzer had the ability to get you 10 strikeouts and maybe give up a couple of home runs and get out of there with a quality start. But I just thought that with the way the slate kind of laid out, that there was more upside with Chris Paddock and there was more upside with Martin Perez. Toronto's a team that I'll continue to stack against or target pitching with, because their numbers are just not great against again hit from a hitting standpoint. They have a very low ISO. They have very high K percentage. Toronto.
Oh, Toronto. Okay, yeah. So, I jumped off that bandwagon after the first week when they disappointed me.
I think that Toronto's okay to use from a hitting standpoint, but I think that if you're looking at a scale right now, the scale is definitely tipped in using pitching against them. But as a slate goes, I think that there are opportunities to use them as a team and stack them. I just think when you have a pitcher who has really good swing and miss stuff, and we talked about this on the deep dive. This is the kind of stuff we talk about on the deep dive. So Martin Perez. Increased velocity on his fastball by 3 miles per hour. He's ditched his slider and he's throwing a cutter about 89 miles per hour. He can hit 90 with it. Fastball last night was up to 97. The guy in his entire career topped out about 92.5 with his four-seam fastball and was very slider heavy. He's pitching completely different. His pitch mix is different. Him and Marco Gonzalez for Seattle, the two guys that I've broken down this year that have clearly changed their pitch mix. And if you look at baseball as a whole, there's about 7 guys right now who are heavily reliant on a cutter, and they're getting a ton of whiffs with it. You talk about whiff percentage with pitchers, and almost an 11% increase in whiff percentage for Martin Perez last year, basically for his career, compared to where he's at this year. So, that's the kind of stuff we look at on the deep dive, and it put us all over Martin Perez, put us all over Chris Paddock yesterday. So it paid off. We also got St. Louis and Tampa Bay, who I recommended in our stacks piece, and we got them very low owned, and they went off.
Yeah, we doubled them up because we had both of them in this video yesterday as well.
Right.
So yeah, man, let's look forward to today a little bit. There's some teams that I'm definitely liking bat wise. We got Coors Field on the slate. I'll start with Coors Field. I mean, whenever Coors is on the slate, we definitely got to consider Coors Field. We were just having a conversation right now. There's going to be bad weather the next couple of days in Coors Field. It is not looking very promising. Today's a day. There is going to be a little bit of light rain, but I think today's a day that you could attack Coors Field. I like both sides of this game. Bat wise, I'll start with Colorado first, going against Bumgarner. But Bumgarner just hasn't been the same pitcher this season that he's been in the past. Gives up a 240 WOBA to left-handers, 338 WOBA to right-handers. So I definitely want to attack Bumgarner with the righties in this Colorado lineup. You got to look at the lefty mashers and Arenado, Story. Mark Reynolds has a couple home runs off of Bumgarner as well. You could possibly throw in Desmond, but Desmond, he just is looking like he's at the point of his career where he's a little bit on the downhill slide. I mean, the main three guys I'm really liking on the Colorado side of things is it's Arenado, it's Story, and it's Reynolds. They all hit lefties very, very well. They all can hit for power. You just need them to kind of get a good get a good part of the barrel on the bat, and they have a chance for the ball to fly. So definitely got to look at Colorado. I like those three guys. The lefties, I mean, you could consider them, I guess, because they're in Colorado. But Bumgarner is actually pretty good against the lefties, so I'm really just sticking with a couple of the righties. And that's really where I'm at for Colorado. Throwing it on the other side of the Giants, going against a lefty is Sensatella. They have a couple guys that they hit lefties well on the Giants side as well. A Buster Posey, Evan Longoria. I'll start with both of those guys just because both of those guys have been known for their careers to really crush lefties. And both of them are very, very fair price tags. Another guy that you can look at is this guy, Mike Gerber, is going to be in the 2-hole, and I think he's like $2,600. Very, very cheap. And if he's going to be, like I said, at the top of the order, he'll be a good value play that you can look at and to get some extra exposure in Coors Field. I mean, you're a Giants guy. Is there anybody else outside of Posey and Longoria that really hit lefties good for the Giants?
A couple of things to look at here for me is who's going to be in these lineups, right? Because I don't think that for one, I don't look at it. We look at it from two different standpoints. You look at it more from a hitter standpoint, and I look at it from the standpoint of if I can figure out pitching, then I'm going to do okay on the slate. So from that side of things, I'm really curious to see how many right-handed bats are in Colorado's lineup, and I'm really curious to see how many right-handed bats are in the lineup of the Giants. I'm actually more interested in the Giants right now than I am the Rockies, and that's because of Cinzilla. And you take a look at a couple of factors, and one of them with Bumgarner is, let's talk about strikeout percentage. He has a 35.9% K rate against lefties and only a 21% K rate against righties. So obviously he's striking out lefties. He's not striking out righties. So we want to see how many right-handed guys are in that lineup, and it becomes more about correlation than it does, for me, more about correlation than it does who's actually smashing left-handed pitching. I want to kind of figure the one guy in that. For the Giants, you're talking about it. I think that a guy you can really look to today for the Giants, if he's going to be in the lineup, there's probably two guys that I would look at, and one is Evan Longoria, right, and the other one is Pablo Sandoval, a switch hitter. If Pablo's hot right now, and Pablo's doing everything for them. He pitched another scoreless inning yesterday, had a home run yesterday. Pablo is probably the guy that I would look at in that lineup. Switch hitting Pablo Sandoval.
Okay, for sure. Fair enough. Got to kind of wait and see how the lineups shake out. So outside of Coors Field, where you got Colorado and San Francisco, a couple other teams really jumping out to me. I'm going to go right back to the well with Houston. They get a matchup today against a lefty and Danny Duffy. Danny Duffy gives up a 332 WOBA to left-handers, 347 WOBA to right-handers. And then, man, you got to talk about Houston as a team. I mean, they have a 365 team WOBA, 217 team ISO, so they're really hitting the ball very, very well. And Danny Duffy, I mean, a couple years ago he had a really good year, and it was kind of his one year wonder kind of thing. The past couple years he hasn't been the same, and I really like Houston. They got a bunch of guys that hit lefties very, very well. Whenever I start with Houston, I start with their lefty mashers. You got to go with their top four guys. Springer, Bregman, Altuve, Correa. All four of those guys really, really hit lefties well. And then I do want to throw in there as well. There's some other guys they actually have a lot of guys that hit lefties well. Chirinos has been known to hit lefties pretty good for his career. Gurriel as well. I think that they are in play. And if Tyler White's going to be in there dirt cheap, you can consider him as a GPP play. So I am really, really liking the Houston righties today going against Danny Duffy at home. Moving on, next team I'm going to be looking at is going to be Boston in Baltimore. We've been talking about Oriole Stadium all year long. They're giving up a bunch of runs. Balls are really, really flying. And then the Boston, they get a really, really good matchup today going against David Hess. Gives up a 340 WOBA against left-handers, 321 WOBA against right-handers. Boston as a team has a 319 WOBA, which it's pretty good. It's a little bit above average. I like these Boston guys. One guy that's really, really standing out to me, I like Benintendi. I know it's a small sample size, but Benintendi already has 3 home runs off of David Hess. I played him earlier in the year when Boston faced David Hess, and Benintendi went yard. I'm not going to say he's going to necessarily go yard today, but I think he's going to have a really good day at the plate. Outside of Benintendi, I mean, you look at their main guys. You got to look at Betts. You got to look at JD Martinez, Bogart, and then Mitch Moreland. If he's going to be in that 3-hole, the lefty-righty matchup, I think that he definitely is in play in Baltimore. I like this Baltimore. I like this Oriole team in Baltimore in the stadium. I think that they're going to put up a bunch of runs today. And lastly, the final team I'm going to be looking at, I'm going to go right back to the well. I'm going to continue to play them over and over again. Tampa Bay Rays, I feel like every day they're putting up 10 runs. I know I'm over-exaggerating, but that's just how I feel. This team is putting up a bunch of runs. They're playing very well. They got a good mixture of some veterans with some young guys in there, and they're just on a roll, man. They get a matchup today with Taylor Clark. He's a young guy. We don't have much stats on him right now, but I will tell you, Tampa Bay as a team, 340 team WOBA, 200 team ISO. They're absolutely just ripping the cover off the ball. So I really like Tampa Bay a lot today. So just to round it out and kind of sum up where I'm at, got to look at Coors Field, Colorado, San Francisco, both sides of that game. Wait on lineups to see who's in there. Then you look at Houston, Boston, Tampa Bay. Those are my top 5 teams on today's slate to target bat-wise.
Cool.
Who you got for us pitcher-wise?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's some big names on the slate, and kind of sorting through that is what we'll get into on the deep dive today. So you've got, I got
a quick question for you. I just want to know, what do you think about Lester today? I'm personally really liking Lester. I just want your opinion on him.
Yeah, I mean, look, from a team ISO standpoint, you take a look at Miami, and there's not a lot there, right? I didn't like the matchup yesterday with Cole Hamels. I thought Cole Hamels was fine if you wanted to use him, but I actually avoided Cole Hamels yesterday for the simple fact that I liked guys, and I thought in that price range there was guys with more upside. And I think that that's the question you're going to have to ask yourself with Lester today is the upside with a John Lester there? We take a look at John Lester just from a strikeout standpoint, 28.4% K rate against righties, which is a little bit reverse splits, and a 21.4% K percentage against lefties. So, this is a reverse splits guy from a strikeout standpoint. He's 2-1 on the year. He's a huge favorite based on the slate at -150. It just is the upside there for a Lester in this lineup. One thing that I'll continue to say over and over again is I don't like when a team faces – it's a little bit different with right-handed pitching because everybody sees right-handed pitching. Everybody does. But typically if you've got a 3-game series and you're going to face 2 righties and a lefty, there may be, let's say that just as an example, that you have a travel day after a night game and, you go East Coast to West Coast. You may say that, okay, we're not going to take BP today. We're going to get to the park later on, and we won't take BP today. We'll give the guys time to rest. If you've just faced 2 righties and you're going to face a lefty, you'll go in and take BP to get swings against left-handed arm. So they'll send the left-handed batting coach, left-handed pitching coach, or BP coach out there. He'll throw batting practice, etc. I don't like – so all of those things are different for a lefty. You understand what I'm saying? Like There's things that are different when you're facing a lefty. I don't like when teams face back-to-back lefties. When a team goes out there and throws lefty 2 in a row, I just don't like that situation because everybody sees right-handed pitching – and they don't really have to make an adjustment for right-handed pitching. Left-handed pitching is like the unicorn, and now you've got to make an adjustment. Well, when you get them on back-to-back days, it's not like it's that big of a deal. That's why you see a lot of good rotations will stagger right, left in their pitching rotation to keep that out of facing a lefty on back-to-back days. So
keep them on balance. I got you.
I don't like that standpoint of it. And then, at 8.5. Is he the guy that is he the salary saving guy today? Does he have the same upside as Aaron Nola against Cardinals, or Colin McHugh against the Royals, or even spending an extra $1,100 to get Ryu against the Braves? We just saw what Walker Buehler did last night, and Walker Buehler's stuff has not been as good as Ryu really for the course of the season. So I don't mind Lester, I guess, in tournaments, but I probably won't have a large amount of Lester exposure. I think that When you look at Jose Barrios at 10.4 against the same Toronto Blue Jays that Martin Perez struck out, I believe, 10 last night. I think, he's there. You take a look at Steven Strasburg, the highest K percentage on the slate, basically, of any guy with a large sample size. You're talking 30.6% K percentage against lefties and 33% K percentage against righties. Caleb Smith, I know it's against the Cubs, but this guy's, he's 3-0 this year. He's got a 35.7% K percentage against righties. We know some big bats in that lineup are right-handed: Javi Baez, Chris Bryant, Wilson Contreras, etc. They do have the lefties in Rizzo, Hayward, and Zobrist, but he still has a 27.8% K percentage there. So you take a look at Caleb Smith. You take a look at from a value standpoint. We'll get into that on the deep dive a little bit, but there's not a real Martin Perez on this slate, if you will. There's not a guy that's 7,000, 7,500 that has the upside to strike out 10, that has all these metrics that nobody's looking at least, in my opinion. Fears is a guy against the Reds in a pitcher's ballpark, but, I'll leave you with this one last thing. I recommended Mike Fears when he started against Toronto, and he struck out, I think, 8 and got a quality start, and people thought I was nuts. Well, it wasn't so nuts yesterday with Martin Perez, and it wouldn't be so nuts with Jose Barrios, who's probably a better pitcher than both those guys.
Yeah, no, I definitely like Barrios a lot today. I think it's a good matchup. Like I said, I don't have faith in Toronto's hitting lineup anymore. But no, that was one of the reasons I asked about Lester, just because 8,500 is a fair price tag, and it allows you to get some of these bigger bats that we talked about earlier. But hey, man, that's where we're at. Kind of just a quick little overview of what I'm looking at bat wise, what Jeremy's looking at pitching wise. If you want a more in-depth analysis on today's slate, you want to check out our core plays video, our value article. Hey, we got it all. Check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. We just launched a 14-day free trial. Yes, 14 days. We're giving you 2 weeks to make sure our tool is right for you. That's how much confidence we have in our product that is going to help you win night in and night out. So check it out, dfscheatsheet.com. And hey, good luck on your guys' contest tonight, all right? Peace out, guys.